nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars. Don't let them end.
Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of our planet's hottest entertainment with an edge from a galaxy far, far away. I'm En Fuego here, and I welcome you once more to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. And this is going to be wrapping up a bit of coverage all about Clone Wars Legacy. Now, what was Clone Wars Legacy if you haven't seen the two previous installments that I did here? So, essentially, when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, they decided to abruptly cancel Star Wars The Clone Wars, which had been very popular, good ratings and everything, but based on the fact that it aired on Cartoon Network, different ownership, conflicts of interest, and all that other stuff, despite the fact that they were hard at work on a sixth season of the show, they got cut off, like, right in the middle of stuff, which was unfortunate. So what they ended up doing was taking these few story arcs that they had put all of this diligence and effort into already, and they turned it into just a bunch of different multimedia formats. And so previously I had done the Dark Disciple novel, which is actually much more on the adult side of things, kind of wraps up Ventress's story in a fascinating fashion. And then I had also done Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, which was originally published in Dark Horse Comics, and then it migrated over to Marvel once, Disney owns Marvel, so there you go. But so lastly, there were still two other 4-episode each story arcs that went down. And so there was one, which is what I'm here to talk about, which is Crystal Crisis on Utapau. And that is definitely, as I can attest to, a little bit more on the cheesy side of things. And that's the problem in some ways with, as much as I enjoy the Clone Wars when it's really good, there's a lot of episodes that are kind of hammy and like more on the derpy side and a little bit boring, unfortunately. And this 4-episode arc is definitely one of them, but it's still kind of fascinating to see in that regard because the fact that being unfinished episodes, they're actually these story reel kind of things, so it's like a rough form of animation that still had all of the voice actors recording their stuff, and so I mean, it is still very watchable, but the designs, needless to say, are very crude of everything, and like mouths don't really move, and characters are like floating around as opposed to more natural movement and stuff like that. But I mean, still fascinating in that regard. So basically what this 4-episode arc is about is that Obi-Wan and Anakin, they go to investigate this death of a Jedi on Utapau, and Utapau is a very strange planet in the fact that it's got this very defined like class system almost. So you have like the, higher intellectual, more civilized people, and that's where there's an actual government and stuff like that, and they live like higher up on this planet. But then there's these descending lower levels that have different types of I guess more primitive different species and stuff that are there. But it's a really cool looking planet, and there's a lot of even in the crude design of some of these creatures, it's very like prehistoric almost. And so you've got like these pterodactyl looking things, these like flying half bird, half dinosaur type stuff, and there's some very cool creature design. And as they unravel the plot about the death of this Jedi who was there investigating some stuff, turns out, yes, the Separatists are trying to, just nefariously make more alliances, and there is apparently a weapons deal that was going to go down with this huge-ass kyber crystal, and we're not talking like the size that lightsabers and stuff would be made of by both the Jedi and the Sith. We're talking here like as huge as like a small, like, I don't know, like the size of a car practically, a huge-ass kyber crystal. And these are the kind that in ancient days of old, like way, way back in, I'm assuming close to like Old Republic era and stuff like that, were apparently used to make weapons, like really, like just big, insanely dangerous weapons. So it's intriguing how the kyber has that sort of ability and stuff. And actually, as I did some additional research on Wikipedia about this, I learned more about kyber crystals and the duality and the nature of, when they were used on a smaller scale or in a larger, more massive scale. So it's a very drawn out 4-episode arc, and there's never really that much in doubt. And it's just one of those, okay, so first they sniff out the plot, and then, they go after the people, and then they get captured, and then in turn, they are able to escape, and they steal the crystal, being Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then, in turn, Grievous shows up, and Grievous actually, he does have a few moments where he's just like straight up killing people, which is fascinating, and I always have fun with that. But I mean, so much of the stuff with him, and especially all of those droid army guys, Roger, Roger, and all that stuff, it just, those particular story arcs, which include this one, are just, I mean, compared to some of the stuff with, you know, when Maul shows up and some of those darker episodes that we have, and especially compared to the Son of Dathomir, the comic I mentioned, and also Dark Disciple, this unused story arc felt much more on the goofy side of things. And I mean, yes, we get some fun fights, and there's these like 2 assassin droids that look like, you know, those the Terminator skeletons and stuff, and so that's kind of cool. And there are some fun battles, and we end up getting kind of a ship battle too a little bit, and you know, because we do end up finally escaping the planet and going up to space and stuff like that. But I mean, really, as a whole, with the exception of the mention of Ahsoka being gone after she was falsely accused of the, you know, Jedi Temple bombing and stuff like that, this is a story arc that could really appear at any time in all those different seasons of the Clone Wars, because it's kind of evergreen in that regard, where it's just a self-contained battle over something, and it really doesn't have any like long-lasting effects, anything that really happened in this story arc. So that's why I can see why this was not decided to be adapted, and yet they did decide to adapt that Bad Batch, which was the other 4-episode story arc that they made into official season 7 stuff. So I mean, yeah, that was much more compelling compared to this, and so I guess I can see why they did it. But it's still, I mean, if you're trying to get through everything Clone Wars and you just want to soak up all Star Wars stuff like I've wanted to do since relaunching this channel about a year ago, I mean, yeah, it's worth seeking out. I know it's online, and then it also dwells in Blu-ray format for this, as you can see, bam, right there. So that was actually, I sat down and I watched it on my TV and stuff in nice high definition, so that's a thing. But I mean, it's pretty easy to seek this out. I think it's on the Star Wars website, if I'm not mistaken, but I had seen some of it on YouTube already. So, I mean, once again, like the high definition doesn't really help that much because there's like missing polygons and stuff like that. I mean, it's once again, it's not the full beautiful animation that we got adjusted to with this show, and which is really beautiful in this 7th and final season. But I mean, nonetheless, if you want to be a completist, if you want to watch every single story and have gotten through as much as possible, I mean, I'm about to start Rebels, which I'm pretty stoked on. I just finished reading A New Dawn, which is kind of that precursor to that, and getting to know Kanan and stuff. And I'm also next going to be finishing up review coverage of the 7th season, because here on May the 4th, we are getting the final episode of Clone Wars, like ever, the series finale, which we're going to get some additional backstory about some stuff that went down with Rex and Ahsoka, and after Order 66 went into place and stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, I'm a completist, so I had to check this out, and that is about the extent of it. But yes, I'm stoked to start Rebels and check out the Kanan comic and just slowly continue my journey through all of the stuff in the proper chronological canon order. So that's going to be it for moi today, y'all. I've been Jaime En Fuego, and you can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, not just here for YouTube, but if you migrate over to youtube.com/thehorrorshow channel, that's where, as opposed to here, where I do more like nerdtastic stuff and, you know, sci-fi and comedy and action and stuff like that, that's where the spooktacular shizzle goes down. And I mean, at least 1 episode a day, which I try to maintain here as well, in the midst of all of the craziness that we are experiencing in this world, the ups and the downs of everything, and we're still kind of in, you know, self-quarantine-y, social distancing type stuff. So, I mean, on both my channel here, Enfuegotainment, and over there on The Horror Show, there is a ton of cool stuff to check out. So, once again, I've been Fuego. Y'all have been rad status as always, and until the reel of Ka comes around once more, I say hasta luego, cinemigos, and constant readers and viewers alike. But I'm hopeful that we get to share more of this palaver sooner rather than later. And obviously, may the Force be with you. Yeah.